Before we even start, press that subscribe button. Trust me, you'll want to stick around. This is Who Said What, where my sister Nira and I dive into life, culture, and the things that people think but don't say out loud. She overshares, I think before I speak, most of the time. We've lived all over. Egypt, the US, Dubai, Europe, so we've seen the best and worst of everything. Relationships, careers, family chaos, and unspoken rules that make absolutely no sense. No fluff here, no filters, just real talk, occasional wisdom, and a lot of, did we really just say that moments? Now let's get into it. Okay, hi everybody. We're back with another episode of Who Said What? I'm Heba.
And I'm Nira.
And we are wrapping up season 4 with a special guest, Omar Hikal, who's redefining what it means to brand a company in Egypt.
Actually, the first time I met you, you were Archimedia.
Yes.
Was the first time, and you were my clients when I was working with Maha.
After he worked with you, he decided to flip and go on the other side. He's like, that side sounds more bossy and
That's
better.
right. No, Archimedia was our first entrepreneurial venture, 2004. So this is
a long time ago.
We just celebrated our 20-year anniversary.
Are you still doing Archimedia?
Well, I'm not doing it like day to day. My partners are very, very, very capable and wonderful, and they're doing a great job. I'm board member, and I help
What is
them.
Archimedia again for those people who are listening who don't know?
So Archimedia actually it's the company is it does a couple of things. So Archimedia is one of the companies within a group that does a lot of work in high-end design, installation, automation work for primarily businesses and residences in the GCC. It's based out of Dubai, does a lot of work in UAE and in Saudi and so on. The company's called GR Media Solutions, and we represent a lot of wonderful brands in the audio, video, automation space. One of the bigger ones these days is a brand called Sonos.
Yes.
Yeah. So we do a lot of work with them, and we actually do a lot of work with them as the brand company as well. So that's a fun relationship we have. And we just celebrated our 20-year anniversary.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. So that was the first time we met.
That is the first time we met.
You were with Maha, and you guys did our Egypt launch.
Yes, your office was in Mahdi as well.
That's right.
Yeah.
We like Mahdi.
And you had like a home entertainment, like the screen in like a theater style room.
Yes. Yes.
I remember that.
And so what made you decide, when did you launch the brand company, and what made you decide to do that?
So 2014, I left the Archimedia business. It was a moment in time for me where I realized I kind of wanted to make a shift. A little bit of burnout, a little bit of a lack of passion, a little bit of frustration. A lot of lessons I learned about myself and leadership at that time. So I just said, I'm going to take a break. So I spoke to my partners, and we engineered like an exit from the leadership of the business. I was CEO, so we passed that torch on to someone else, and they did a wonderful job, and I moved on. So the brand company came about in 2016. I was actually at the time I was doing some consulting work, and I needed a good branding company, and I couldn't find one. So I kind of decided. I met Dara, who you know, my partner, who is like family at this point to me.
So you two are like the founding partners.
Yes, and we had a third partner, Ahmed, who was partners originally with Dara in a company called DNA, and he exited a few years ago. So when we met, the three of us, we kind of had a couple of conversations, and we ended up saying, okay, why don't we do something together? Because there was a whole, I think, area of branding that really wasn't being addressed at all, which is all about the thinking, the strategy, what's happening before we start designing things. And what was happening before was, I think, people were really jumping into, okay, let's design logos, right? And that's not really what it's about. It's part of it. So 2016, we had a conversation, and we ended up, I was toying with the idea of kind of being semi-retired, and that turned out to be a really bad idea, for many reasons, but I was driving myself and my wife crazy. So we launched the brand company, and we're almost in our 10th year now.
Deb, I have a question for you. Let's go take a few steps back. When you said you learned a lot about yourself at Archimedia, can you share with us those lessons? Because actually, because we have a lot of people who listen or are very interested in people like our age that start something a little later in life. Because, you kind of, everybody always feels like after a certain age, you kind of like reached your limit. And so, but basically you started again with something new. And if you can share with the listeners, like how old you were at that time and what lessons you learned from the first time, share some insight.
Oh, wow. You guys said we have an hour? So I've been kind of in management roles from very early on in my career. Somehow I just got thrown into it. Right out of university, my first job was actually as a manager, which was kind of unusual. And it took me about maybe 10 years out of university to realize that, maybe a bit less, that I was really bad at it. Like I was just, like people that work with me didn't like it, which is kind of a problem. So.
You weren't good at managing people, you think?
Yeah, I don't think so.
But is that what you think, or is that you were like, what made you think that?
I'm pretty sure that I got feedback that indicated to me that I kind of wasn't somebody that people liked working with early on in my career.
How old were you at the time?
I was like 21, 22.
Oh, so you just graduated from college?
Just graduated from college.
And what did you...
So I started my career with Marriott in the States.
And you graduated from college in the States, right?
Yeah. And I went through Marriott's executive training program. They have I can't remember what they called it back then. This is so long. I think it was an executive training program. And it's a year of basically working in every department in the hotel. Mm-hmm. So did the kitchen, did housekeeping, did room service, did everything. And then, congratulations, now you get to manage a whole bunch of people. So that to me was a bit of a, trial by fire. Mm. And over the next then kind of few years, I started slowly gaining self-awareness about, okay, wait a minute, this is not really, like being the boss isn't what it's all about, right? Because that's intoxicating at first. Like, oh, wow, look at me. I've got this cool business card and a cool title. And
especially if you're young, I guess.
And I can tell people what to do, and your ego kind of, sabotages you. So the other part of obviously what I do now is I do a lot of work in leadership development and work on culture through the brand company and through a coaching business that I have called Performance Coaching Consulting. So the 2014 kind of moment was a moment where I said, okay, and I've always been curious about what makes good leaders and what makes good companies. Like, how are good companies engineered? How are they architected? Right? How are they built? And what makes a good leader? So I've kind of gone down that rabbit hole, and that's been a lot of fun as well. Both in learning about myself and also being able to help others to kind of develop their own leadership in ways that has fundamentally significant impacts on their businesses.
I guess with the brand company, you kind of you play that role, because I remember when we met I knew you before, but when we met under that umbrella of the brand company and we were thinking of rebranding our old venture, I could tell that what you're concerned about is creating kind of a connection with the actual client. You want to know what the story is, what the history is, what's bothering you. It's not just on the surface. So I guess that's probably something that you're interested in, is kind of trying to see where the pitfalls are with the people that you're dealing with and maybe try to fill those holes and gaps, and you're kind of coming in there.
So my question is, because we were talking about this, so when you expand and get bigger and let's say move out of Mayadi, how are you going to retain that personal relationship with your clients? Because it actually is really important when you're a brand company or PR or advertising, is understanding the essence of the brand and the people behind it and the DNA of it.
Well, not always people do that, but I noticed that you do that.
He does that.
Right. So I'm a big believer in, most of what we're talking about, whether it's leadership, whether it's brand, whether it's culture, it's an inside-out exercise, right? It's an inside-out process, right? Even in leadership, we say the inner game drives the outer game, right? So, there's that what's above the waterline you see of the iceberg, right? But you don't see what's underneath the waterline. And what's underneath is usually much more important, right? Whether it's our beliefs, our experiences, our assumptions, our mindsets, our fears. And that applies across whether you're talking about brand, leadership, or culture. Those three things fundamentally, I think, are inside out exercises. So we always ask questions that some clients think are like, why are you asking that question? Like, that's,
it's irrelevant.
But that's extremely relevant, right? And, when you see the energy with a group of leaders, right? Or partners, or, like when you came in with your partners at the time, like you sense that, right? And that's really at the core of what we do.
Yeah.
Right. So that's, we always talk about, are you renting or are you owning when it comes to your brand, right? So if you're renting, what are you going to do? You're going to come in, you're going to put down some HDF on the floor, paint the walls, put some plants, go to IKEA, and you're done, right? But if this is your home that you're building, you want the foundation to be solid. So you want to look at your plumbing, your electrical, you want to get a civil engineer to make sure that the place isn't going to fall down. That is how we approach it.
And do you find it difficult with that approach with clients here? Because I think it feels more like people are just more interested in putting that Band-Aid or fixing the bottom line as opposed to really coming up with something that is like from the ground up. It feels like people are more on a superficial level here in a way sometimes.
Well, I mean...
no judging.
I think... So you have to balance those two things, right? So obviously businesses want results, right? And leaders want results. And you want to develop a culture and a brand that are going to drive performance, right? Not just in and of itself be, fluffy and friendly and nice. So you need to balance those two things. And we have, I think, developed recently the muscle of being able to tell a client, we might not be the right people for you, right? If you want something that's done, quick and dirty without a lot of thought, and, here are some other companies that could be really good for you to get you through this phase, this challenge that you're going through, because we're going to take a lot more time and we're going to ask a lot more questions that maybe you don't want to get into. But so we've become kind of good at that. And I think it's really important, in our initial discovery sessions with our clients to understand exactly what they're willing to do and what they're not willing to do.
Have you ever tried to, I'm going to use to toughish a client because you're like, the chemistry's not there, you're not going to work well together.
So here's to go, this is another person's number.
So you'll be like, maybe we're not the right company for you, but then that makes them want to work with you even more. So you're like, oh, what do I do now? What I'm saying? How do I get out of it now?
We have had that situation many times.
Oh, I'm sure.
And it's exactly what you said. It's, the more you tell someone, well, we might not be right for you, they insist that we are, and sometimes we say, okay, we do it and we regret it.
Yeah. I mean, those tend to be
it's,
those demanding clients.
I think, and this, by the way, this applies across, right? So even I've been in coaching situations, with leadership teams who want to tick off a box that we did this program, right? But they're not willing to bring what they need to bring of themselves. They're not willing to show up in the way they need to show up, right? So those conversations need to be had early, especially, and it's really interesting because I remember talking to one of my early mentors in the systems coaching space, and systems inspired, coaching is something that we do, relationship systems coaching, and that connects really strong to the brand side. So he said something, and I said to him, one day, these things just feel, in a weird way, they feel connected to me. I don't understand, but I know they're connected. I know that the idea of, systems thinking and branding and relationships and all these things. And he was very articulate. He said, but of course, and he was South African, so he has that lovely accent. And he said, brand is nothing more than the manifestation of the relationship systems that create it. Right. So that was a bit of an epiphany. He's like, yeah, that makes sense. Right. So and this is why, when you meet people in the room, and this goes from personal branding all the way up to institutional branding, and it's a spectrum of, the kind of the scope of the brand, but it's always around a number of people, right? And their relationship with each other, right? That's what the brand ends up being. And you can try and fake it for a few years, right? And pretend it's something else, but it won't, it's not sustainable.
Okay, did you answer the question about what you learned, why you decided to leave, what you learned about yourself? I
don't know. So I think, so I have gained self-awareness. So one of the things, again, in the coaching world that we all acknowledge as practitioners is that you really think you're helping others, but you're really helping yourself, right? Through the practice, the discipline, the learning, and the community. Every time you do a certification with a group of people, these people become like really important. Like a lot of the WhatsApp groups that I have, that aren't my friends, that are active and meaningful, are the ones around my coaching community, because the relationships become very deep and we collaborate a lot and we do a lot of work together. But you end up learning a lot about yourself, right? So I learned a lot about myself, like, oh, wow, okay, this is how I land on others as a leader, right? How do you work through that? What do we need to change? So you're in a constant state of, trying to run a business, lead a business, and also develop yourself and the business at the same time. It's this constant state of like, okay, evolution. So I think the self-awareness was the first, and like I remember the first Leadership 360 I did probably about 10 years ago, and I got the feedback. It's like, oh wow, like some of this is actually really, really positive. I'm very encouraged by it. But there's a couple of things like, oh, that's disappointing that I read that, right? And okay, what do I have to do to, not make that show up on the next time?
So you feel it's made a huge difference with the brand company. You kind of are more self-aware, so you kind of have showed up differently.
I don't know if I can answer that question.
Yeah,
but I'd like to say I think so. I mean, I'd like to say that I think the idea behind leadership is for you to be creating more leaders, right? Not more followers, right?
But don't you think also some people are natural leaders, and those that are not natural leaders maybe shouldn't be? It's kind of like Plato the Republic, you know what I'm saying? It's one of those things where you are in categories. Some people are just better at being workers. It's like the bees, what I'm saying? There's a queen bee, there's the workers and the soldiers. And I feel sometimes that aspiration to be a leader maybe is just not in you. Maybe it's not part of who you are as a person. And I'm not talking about being charismatic or all of that stuff. It's some people are born to be leaders naturally. They're just good at it. They excel at it. And they learn. And being a good leader is also learning from the people underneath you and, past experiences. But I find sometimes I've worked with people and I'm like, I don't know if you should be a leader. I don't know if you have the management skills to be a good manager, because a lot of it has to do with listening. You know what I'm saying? Communicating and
those are also very different things, right? Leadership and management are different things, right? Okay. And I think that you. So let me go back to your first.
Okay.
The first premise was that there are certain people that are born leaders and others who are not. Okay. I think there are certain people who have developed somehow over time the characteristics that make them good leaders, and others who might not have. Okay, and those who might not have doesn't mean they can't become and learn. Right. So I don't think it's binary. I don't think it's black or white. You're a leader. You're not. Right. There are people who are born with a specific talents, or develop specific talents over time. And those people show up as more effective leaders. But those who don't or haven't developed those same characteristics can also develop and become more effective leaders. And a lot of it comes down to emotional intelligence, believe it or not. Like we've seen, people who are, operating from an emotional intelligence place that is somewhat less developed than others, right? That usually ends up being more important than, your technical skills or your management skills, right? If you have really high emotional intelligence and you relate to people well and you understand, you have high self-awareness and high awareness of the people that you're dealing with and are able to regulate your emotions and all of those things, right? You're gonna land, you're gonna show up as a more effective leader.
Okay.
So
that's true, actually.
Yeah.
Definitely. I've really seen that a lot.
Yeah. I don't know, so because sometimes as you get older, I mean, for me, as I got older, I had a lot of managers and stuff like that, and all managers that I learned a lot from and partners that I learned a lot from that I excelled at, and then you just realize with time where you are good as a manager, and you still pick up, you're like, oh, like I'm a horrible organizer. Like that's why I'm good in the kitchen. Honestly, like
you're great at time management. Remember,
but those are all self-limiting beliefs, right? Those are all stories that you tell yourself. Like I'm a terrible whatever, or I'm a great this, or I'm a bad. Like, absolutely. Right? Changing the narrative that you tell yourself about yourself is, like, I think one of the most important things that we can work on, and it's also very difficult.
It is very difficult,
but also it's like, but like there are some things that I think even just self-awareness, like you could be genuinely not good at something, but if you're self-aware of it, you don't have to force yourself to be good at something. I did that for a very long time because I always felt like everybody kept on telling me, no, you have to be good at that, but I'm just not good at it. They're like, and then it's like I forced myself and then just felt so, I felt
not
like
you.
It's not me, and it was uncomfortable, and it made me, I got burnt out easily, and then I got like really uncomfortable, and I kind of got annoyed with other people for making me do something that just like, bloody hell, I'm not good at it. Just hire somebody to do it for you. It's not like I don't have to be the all-knowing.
But that's what Steven said, and you're at, remember the CEO? And
Steven Bartlett.
Exactly, and that, you were there too. The moment we started talking, I'm like, oh, that's right, the management. That's about hiring the right people.
It's true. It's very important.
Like,
oh yeah.
The good manager is really about hiring the right people to plug them in, so you can learn from them and they improve your business and they run with it. You know what I'm saying? And I find,
because sometimes here in Egypt, when you run a business, you can sometimes get bogged down with things that you should not get bogged down with. Like maybe not your company, but like when we did it, like it's like kind of like, it's like, oh my God, like do I have to really get into like the nitty-gritty?
Nitty-gritty. Well, I think there's always a balance between being a micromanager and being detail-oriented. Right, and those two things aren't the same, right? So being detail-oriented, I have a partner who runs one of our businesses in the UAE, and he's ridiculously detail-oriented, but not a micromanager.
Yeah.
Right, and it's a tough balance, and he's so effective, he knows what to look for, right? So he can look at an Excel sheet and find one number that he'll say, wait a minute. Let's talk about this for a bit. So whoever's preparing that sheet doesn't know where the question is going to come, but they know that the question will come. So all the numbers need to be accurate. He doesn't micromanage. He's not going to stand over someone and tell them how to create the Excel sheet or how to do their job, but he will set a very high standard and drive people, lead people to meet that standard. That's the tension. Right.
Yeah.
So, and again, the other question is really important: is who are you in your business? What's your role? What are you accountable for? We always like to talk about how, a business needs a visionary, but it also needs an integrator, right? It needs somebody to be forward-looking, inspirational, the face of the business, interfacing with the outside world, building the brand from that perspective, but also someone to keep the trains running on time.
Yeah.
Right. And those two people are usually very different. That's why, you have a founder and a co-founder. You have a CEO and a COO. You have a head of operations. You have someone. And when someone tries to force themselves to do both of those jobs, and of course, early on in entrepreneurship, that's usually what happens, right? But you really stunt your growth because you're trying to do two things and you're probably not good at one of them. You just don't know which one yet.
Yeah. I don't know. My job, I remember I tried to, I don't know if I micromanage or I'm detailed, but like I'm very, do your job. I showed you how to do it, go do it, give you the autonomy to do it. And then they always manage to fuck it up.
You micromanage, but which is good at times.
Well, because in the kitchen, though, I had to micromanage because when I would tell them, okay, here's the recipe, do it, this is how you do it, and follow.
They don't follow it.
How to do it. And all of a sudden, the cake comes out. I'm just like, what did you guys do? Definitely not. And then they tell me, I'm just like, you totally fucked it up. And so then now I have to be on top of their heads. And I hate being on top of their heads.
But that's the thing. But I think with baking and things like that, you kind of have to... Until you trust that person to do it.
Even properly. When you trust them, they still manage to screw something up. Honestly,
that's why I don't like the food business.
You guys need a coach, by the way. Sounds like you need a coach.
We're not working together anymore.
A lot of frustration coming out in this. I'm feeling a lot of.
Oh really? Oh my god! If you think this is frustration, you can see us season 3, 2, and 3. We had crying sessions.
The last 2 years that we were in it was pretty horrible for us. On our relationship,
I had PTSD.
It was unpleasant because you're juggling people that are not aligned with you, and it caused a lot of tension between us. Actually, a lot.
Well, that's part of what I was talking about earlier. Is that getting your relationship as partners, getting that right, being aligned, and figuring out what you're trying to create together. These are conversations that we never have.
Yeah.
Right? Like, what do we want to create together? Okay, great. That thing that we're creating, what does it need from each of us? And what do we need from it? And, what is in your head? Because the problem that comes up a lot is that you have a lot of things in your head, right? And so do you. And so does like everybody in the meeting room, right? Everyone's got something going on, but no one knows.
Yeah.
And we just assume that the people that we're working with kind of know our vision, know our fears, know our aspirations, but they don't. How are they going to know? We never tell them.
Yeah.
Nira tells us.
Well, we know. Well, in that situation, actually, I think so much we had lost control from early on in the partnership.
Yeah.
And a lot of things were out of my. You try to be in control.
With your new partners, you mean?
Well, we started off. It was just Nira and I. And Shireen, our older sister, was a silent partner, but we worked together. And then after, we didn't really work together at the beginning. It's when we partnered up with the guys. We worked together.
It's just we didn't know what was in their head, and we still don't know. You know what I'm saying? And that was the most frustrating part. And you could see it when we were sitting.
It was very obvious what was in their head. But anyways,
it was very obvious. But it was Nira. You're in the kitchen. Control this. I'm like, but I can't control it because they're cutting me off at the knees. You know what I'm saying? I can't control because. A lot of people were against me in the factory, actually. It was one of those things where I had to
We need therapy, not a coach.
No, by the way, I think...
we're fine. By the way, we're completely over it. It took us a long time. It took me probably 2 years. It's been this year will be 3 years.
It took me a year and a half to get back in the kitchen. It took me a year and a half to get back in the kitchen.
We're good now.
We understand what happened.
Yeah,
it's fine. I mean, you get your relationship gets stronger and stuff like that. It's just there was zero communication at one point between any of us.
And by the way, that is so common in companies. By the way, at a very high level, I have a CEO that I work with, and he's always talking about how his biggest challenge is communication. Communicate, not enough communication, whatever, and And I realized after working with him for a while that his issue wasn't communication. His issue was that people weren't listening to him, right? that was like his. So, and I think there's two challenges that we all have with communication. Is one, that we don't listen well, and listening well is really like a superpower. Like when you meet someone that's a good listener, it's like, wow, right? That's a fantastic skill that I think we should all be developing. But also speaking up, right? Speaking your mind, talking about,
Oh, I'm very good at that. It just offends people most of the time. It rubs people the wrong way.
and that's another thing is that, what you want to be able to speak up, but you also want people to know that you're that's coming from a good place.
Yeah.
Right. It's not coming, assuming it is, right? It's not coming from a place of ego. I know so much. I'm so cool. you guys all suck and you have to listen to me, because nobody wants that, right?
Yeah.
But when it's coming from a place of, I think we can all do something better together, then people will tend to respond to that in a different way. So
I don't know.
So speaking of brands, what companies have you worked with that you felt like, or from all the companies that you've worked with, what do you find defining thing that makes them succeed, and what is the thing that makes them not succeed?
Do you guys remember the Succession episode where the father says to his kids,
I never watched it.
"You are not." Oh, he has fantastic show.
I heard it's amazing.
I know.
You are not serious people, right? Yeah. When he said that, "You are not serious people," that phrase really stuck with me. And you can identify that pretty quickly in a company, right? Like, are these people serious about actually doing something or not? And when you find, and we have so many examples of wonderful businesses, large and small, in Egypt and abroad, who have, really just shown so much grit and so much resilience and so much energy and action. I can someone like, one of our favorite clients is Mahmoud Barakat, who is the founder of Moco Chocolates.
Okay, yes.
And he's just such a great operator. He's so good at what he does. He's so strategic. He's so focused. And he has been our client also now for 5-6 years since inception. So we have a partnership, and we have the difficult conversations together, when we need to, and he's open to that. I'm open to that. But he's just very serious about what he's doing. We work with Noonies recently.
Yes.
Nadia and Carol, fantastic. They're just, again, so much energy, so much focus, so much passion. But you can have a lot of those things, but not know how to activate it. And so these are some of the brands that are, we work with brands all over the world. We work with a fantastic executive search business, Ames International. We work with their board. And again, so much focus, energy, action. They want to change things. They want to make, and that is the kind of leadership that we're always looking for. Every now and then, not very often, but every now and then we do get a client who just isn't serious. They want to tick off a box. They want to get something done. And, but I think that the majority of businesses that we come across now, and the ones that we end up actually working with, are very serious, and they want to make real impact and real change. And I feel like I've mentioned a few people. There are so many others, large and small. We work with EFG, EFG Holding, one of our favorite clients from before. It's a very, very challenging engagement. But again, what a great success story. GB Corp, another one. The Rabour family, very strong focus on building. And one of the things that we love about what we do is that we see the impact of our work in big and small things. But businesses that grow create opportunities, right? And those opportunities really have an impact on their economies and on the societies, and people, have better paying jobs and more of them, and that's what we need. So when we see someone that started off, with basically a blank piece of paper saying, I have this idea, and then 5-6 years later, now I see them employing, 700-800 people, 1,000 people or more. That's for us, that's impact. It's important.
So do you think that's not vibrating again, right?
Yes.
What's vibrating?
She doesn't know. She's not sure what's vibrating. I've heard it last week as well. Last
week I heard in the whole house something vibrating. Oh. No, it was not my phone. And we kept on looking around trying to find this thing that's vibrating. I said, anyways, so on another note, I wanted to ask you, shit, I lost my train of thought.
I want to talk about Japan.
You want to talk about Japan?
I do. I just got back from Japan. I'm fascinated.
Did you? Oh, no, tell us.
Okay, yes, tell us.
My nephew was there as well. We went when we were really young, so don't remember that much.
Yeah, everybody's so fascinated with Japan. What's fascinating?
Planet Japan.
Was it your first time there?
My first time there. Yeah.
And?
It's fascinating.
Did you stay in Tokyo or did you go around?
No, we went around. We did we did Tokyo and Osaka and Kyoto and a small town called Kanazawa, and we didn't go. No, we didn't do that.
Where?
But we definitely want to go back.
First of all, how far is it? It's far, isn't it?
It's far. Yeah, it's
like Australia.
From Dubai,
far?
It was I think 10 hours.
Oh
yeah.
no, Australia's further.
Okay, so it's not that bad.
You must go.
Let him talk about Japan.
I know.
So now
I always worry about Australia and New Zealand. I feel if I go, I just won't come back.
I know, right?
I'll just stay here.
That's true. I came back. My kids were here.
I cried the first time I came back. I don't want to go.
Really, huh?
It's beautiful.
From Australia, huh?
It's amazing. And then I went a second time with Heba.
Well, the weather's nice. The food's nice. The people are good looking.
Food's amazing.
Friendly. Anyways, so Japan. How long were you there for?
We can talk about Australia afterwards.
So Japan was an experience. So I think, again, I'm very kind of in tune to culture, right? And you guys know I do photography as well. So that when you're photographing people, you really connect with them. And I've done a lot of that in different parts of the world. So you really get to understand a lot about how people interact and how they interact with each other and how they interact with their environments and so on. And Japan was fascinating. The culture, first of all, how do you define a strong culture? It's a culture that makes any visitor, right, modify their behavior, right? So if you have a company with a strong culture, what does that mean? It means that when you hire somebody, they very quickly begin to behave differently, right? So if we're a company that shows up early, then when you hire someone new, if they don't start showing up early pretty quickly, they start to stand out, right? If you're a company that is very fun, if you have someone damut-il, who is bringing negative energy, they stand out. So Japan, the culture there is very, very powerful, and it's all about pride and respect and the collective, right? So everybody is very concerned with everybody else, right? Which I found to be fascinating. The respect, the pride that people take in their work, is really something that I'm like, wow. But the coolest thing is that, so there's no garbage cans in the street. Like there's no rubbish bins in the street.
There's no littering in the street, right?
Well, there's definitely no littering. But there's zero littering. But there's no fine. So if you're walking with something, a tissue or something, you want to toss it, but there's nowhere to put it. So I asked my guide, I said, explain this to me because this is really interesting. And I know this is probably anyone that's been to Japan has noticed it. It's not like earth-shattering. But to me, I was like, this is really interesting. So tell me more about this whole thing. She's like, yeah, we learned very early on that we carry something with us and we put our garbage with us and we take it home and we throw it away at home. And I said, that's amazing. And she said, and in schools, we have no cleaning staff.
Talk about cutting costs.
Well, so that's another thing, right? So the first thing I said, what do you mean? She said, well, the students finish their classes and then they clean the school and then they go home.
That's great.
That's respect for
right.
I'm sending my kids to Japanese schools.
That's exactly what I said. I want to send my kids are wonderful and they're not kids anymore. They're older now. They're both in their 20s. But how cool is that? So that to me was really fascinating. And I don't know, I'm not saying that everything is perfect about their society because I'm sure it's not. But from what you see, a lot of it is really like a lot of lessons that you can learn. And just the respect and the pride they take in everything they do, and everything is about mastery, right? So we went to a sake tasting, with a sake master. That's what she does. We went and had tea ceremony with a tea master and the sushi chefs. Wow.
Yeah, because I actually read that book, the Ikigai, I keep on forgetting
Ikigai.
And actually it talks about that, the way the Japanese are so focused on the one thing that they do and they perfect it. And they don't have this whole epidemic of multitasking. So they really take pride in whatever they do, even if there was this one, I can't believe I don't remember his name. He's very well known, actually. I think he's in his early 90s or something, or 80s. He's one of the first animated. He draws. Who? I think so. And he draws everything apparently. And so people say that the Japanese live like that. They live like by that, concept of like focusing on one thing and doing it like to the best of their ability. It's not about making the most money that you can. It's like just being satisfied. And actually they've come up with like, they're happier people because of that.
Well, there's a lot of research that's been done around, I think, happiness in different parts of the world and longevity as well.
Yep.
And so they don't have the concept of retirement at all, right?
Exactly.
Which makes a lot of sense. And I think Ikigai is very interesting. The concept has been westernized a bit. So the books and the whole, a lot of that has been westernized. But the concept of Ikigai, I think, is all about really that thing that you're driven to kind of do,
finding your meaning and purpose.
Yeah,
in life.
the meaning and purpose, and it's not necessarily, again, the Western angle is, I want to change the world, or I want to. Sometimes it's just, I just want to take care of my kids, or I want to, do something that is meaningful to me and the people around me. I don't necessarily have to have an impact on the globe, although that's also very nice. So yeah, it was really interesting, and I think we had a really interesting experience while we were there that. Kind of landed in a really interesting way for me, because it was one of those things that happens and you kind of, so they have the whole concept of omakase there when you go to a restaurant. And omakase is basically, what it means is that you don't order anything. The chef just feeds you. Right, whatever they feel that they want to feed you. So they ask you first if you have any allergies, which is very nice.
And if you have any preferences
or allergies or whatever, if you say no, and then the chef just feeds you. Right? Wow, pretty cool. So the first couple of days we had omakase experiences, and so they give you like this 13 courses, right? And every course is like relatively small and whatever, but so out of the 13 courses, there's like 7 that are wow, right? 2 that are okay, and then a few things that are just really bad, like I really didn't like. So I was like, I don't want to do that. I want to, I'm entitled, right? I want to order what I want. I want to eat what I like. I don't want to go through all of this. So I told my wife, and we had a lovely couple, a family actually with us, and I told them, like, guys, no more of this omakase stuff. Let's go to a place where we can order our food. You know what? And I just, and they said okay. They were very nice. And then we discovered later that most of the nicer restaurants don't have a la carte. You can't order. It's just all omakase.
All omakase.
Okay. So we walk into the hotel on our 3rd or 4th night, and my wife just instinctively goes to the bookshelf. They had a bookshelf in the room, and there's a book on the shelf. She picks out a random book and opens it to a random page. This is a true story, by the way. You can ask her. And she said, oh, look at this. And I said, what? So she starts reading to me this page that says, the experience of omakase is not just about the food, but it's about trust and acceptance and submission to the chef.
Ooh, interesting.
Powerful.
Very
Deep.
powerful.
Right. And of course, for me, that was a statement not just about the food, but it was about the food and about life, isn't it? Right? Like, you're going to get served up some things in life that are yummy. Sometimes you're going to get served up some things that are pretty horrible. And a lot of it is luck, a lot of it is circumstance, but learning to accept and submit to these things is part of how we survive. So that was also another just interesting kind of philosophical thing that happened in Japan that made me realize, like, they look at everything from a philosophical perspective, even the way they eat.
That is really nice, by the way. I like that because it's true. When you think about it, it's like we kind of try to control so many things, aspects of our lives, and if we go with the flow, it's like so much nicer.
Then again, I watched this documentary about this woman who got killed there by a serial killer, and they're pretty.
They
are very.
You just killed.
No.
So she goes dark.
During World War II, they committed horrible atrocities.
Yes.
To Korea and China, and 734 is Japanese.
Just as hardcore as they are in that stuff. I mean, their lifestyle, the way of thinking is amazing, but there's something, they're very private.
Dark?
They're very private, and that privacy can be extremely dark.
Yes.
And they're quite, I mean,
Yes.
I've met people that are half Japanese, half Egyptian, half whatever. They're super racist. They do not accept if you're half.
So I've heard some stories about that as well. I obviously don't have, personal empirical evidence, but yeah, I think there's a certain xenophobia that does exist. But isn't that everywhere?
It is everywhere.
Exactly.
I was thinking to myself driving over here, it's like, what do you want to talk about? I'm like, I want to talk about Gaza, right? Like that is something that's just like on my mind constantly in every conversation, in every, interaction, right? It's like,
I avoid talking about it all the time.
It's depressing. I know it's bad to be in denial, but like not denial, but I find it just crazy. But the whole state of the world makes me feel I find it depressing. So I don't watch the news very much.
It saddens me tremendously
because it's like a black hole.
I think it's just beyond sad because it's making us question so many things, right? Like, and who is, why is it that the world is constantly collectively producing results that nobody's happy with? Like, why? How does that work? Like, why are we as humanity?
It's called bad management. Collective. It's called bad management.
It's called dictatorship.
Bad management?
Is it bad leadership?
Yeah, I think I wrote something recently about about leadership, and I always get this thing when I talk about empathy with leaders, or I talk about relating to others and community concern and caring for people around you. And people say, well, what about, I get this all the time, what about Elon Musk? All right, let's pause for a second. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about Elon Musk, right? Because if we are going to simply identify success as who has the most money,
then he wins.
Right? Then he wins. Right? Fair enough. But is that the story? Like, is that why we're here? Just to race this amazing scarcity mentality of, there's going to be 10, 15 people on a list. And if you're not one of those 10, 15 people or 20 or 100, however many people they are, then you've become kind of insignificant.
Who was invited to the Jeff Bezos and Lawrence Sanchez wedding? Those are the people. That's the list.
It's really interesting because we're all looking at the social media. And the funniest thing I read this morning was that I think the happiest person watching the festivities is Mackenzie Scott, his ex-wife. I think she's probably the biggest, the happiest person watching this. But we're all complaining about this while we're waiting for our Amazon packages to arrive, right? So, you know what I mean? But yeah, so the state of the world right now, the state of the region. Is a big source of anxiety for everybody. But for me, it's become a bit of an issue because I think you need to choose sides, right? Like there's no neutrality here. I have people that I really respect and like who are kind of like, yeah, but whatever, it's not really our issue. No, you know what it is? It is our issue. And I think it's an issue that defines for me, so many things about a person. Where do you stand on that? Like it's almost like a litmus test. Hi, where do you stand on Gaza? Right? Let's start there, and then everything else is basically.
I can't imagine that. I think most people have taken a stand, but nobody really wants to talk about it, right? Because it doesn't really make a difference. Some people think. I mean, has it made a difference? People are so vocal, and it's just not had very much impact.
That's the frustrating thing.
It's so frustrating.
That's how the system is.
So it's it's just awful because it makes you lose kind of hope in leadership, like what you're talking, like leadership at that level. Like it's like, you guys don't see this? Like, how can people not see that this is like a crisis in humanity, and just like these poor people, innocent people, and just you're just kind of basically annihilating a whole country, and everybody's like, just like,
I mean, it's.
Then you get the other guy who says, I'll just, I don't even need to pay for it because it's a rubble. I'll just make it the Riviera of the Middle East. It's like, huh? Like, you hear so many things and it's like you're just kind of, people are so out of touch. Those people.
Well, then you have a primary winner like Mamdani in New York that all of a sudden gives people a little bit of hope, right?
Yeah.
So I think the pendulum is always swinging back and forth. I think the pendulum now has swung, to a very extreme direction, and I think we all just hope that it somehow swings back because it's not really sustainable.
Well, and it's the unknown. Right now, you're in a situation where you really have no idea what's going to happen. It's just so, for me, it's like, what now? And it's chaotic. So my brain I can't wrap my head around it. Like, I don't know what's going to happen, and it's kind of just scary.
I think kind of looping it all back to what we were talking about earlier, which is, leadership is lacking. I think that's what we're lacking in leadership, and leadership with empathy. Leaders who are primarily concerned with their own self-interests and their own benefits, right? I think that's a big problem that we're having in the world right now. Leaders shouldn't be concerned with making themselves and their buddies wealthier, right? They should be concerned with taking care of all of their citizens, and indeed, in many cases, citizens beyond their borders.
Absolutely.
So, how do you get to that? That's a whole other discussion. Definitely more than an hour.
Go to Australia. You're like you're away from everything.
Well, but Australia.
They are. I didn't feel it though
Australia is also a colonial settler society,
Absolutely.
right? I mean, we have to. You know what I mean? I was in South Africa recently, and I love that country. I didn't like it. I've always enjoyed it, but you feel the energy, right?
Energy. It's so funny because somebody like when we went to South Africa for a friend's wedding, and they're like, it's like Australia. I'm like, no, it is not like Australia.
Yeah, it's not like Australia, no.
And I had gone, and at that point, Heba still hadn't gone. I had already been. And I'm like, no. This. I'm uncomfortable. The energy was just horrible. I found.
So I went to South Africa the first time in 1992.
Oh my God.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I was there before the handover.
Yeah.
During apartheid.
The apartheid.
And that was and by the way, 4 years earlier, I lived in Mississippi in the South. So I've always had a very kind of highly attuned radar to racism and that kind of, and I've always confused people because as an Egyptian, Arab, Muslim, in many cases, people don't know. Like in Mississippi, I would get asked the question, like, what are you?
Yeah.
Literally, And South Africa wasn't, because South Africa, obviously, there's such a spectrum, right, of racial and ethnic, people. It's not a black or white thing at all. There's a lot of, but yeah, they have a legacy to reckon with, and I don't know how well they've managed in the past. What's it been now? 30 years? 30.
Yes, 30 some years.
I think coming up on 40 years now, right? Mm-hmm. No. Mm-hmm. Good. Yeah.
God.
So I don't know how well. I mean, you'd have to spend more time there and ask more people. How well that has worked out for them,
But interesting you say that about Australia. It's racist, but you have so many ethnicities there. It's insane. It's
They don't like it.
It's on. You have the Anglos. Then you have the Chinese, you have the Aborigines, you have the Syrians, you have the Lebanese, it's literally...
Talking about South Africa?
No, Australia.
Australia, sorry.
It's like everybody is there, you know what I'm saying? I go in to do this thing and this person starts talking to me and she's like, where are you from? I'm like, Egypt. Oh, I'm Syrian. I'm just like, of course you are. Of
course you are, yeah.
But it's interesting.
I think it's also not fair to single out these countries as the only places that have racism, right? I mean, the Middle East, we have every country in the Middle East, there's racism. So, it's something that I don't know if you can eliminate it
Is it colonialism? Does it go back? Probably, I mean.
It's kind of how we evolved, right? The people that don't look like you are the people that are most likely to harm you, right? If you're in a tribe and you're out in, whatever, and you see someone who looks different, that's your mind is kind of like, that's right.
It happened to me in the States. It happened to me in the States when I was in college, because my roommate was from Maine, and she had never been outside of Maine, yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, Boston was the first city she went to outside of Gorham, Maine, which is literally in the middle of nowhere. And I remember one time she told me something. She's like, because of the color of your skin. And I went, excuse me? I'm like, what about the color of my skin? And I got a letter from her in the summer before we moved into, in Egypt.
I hope you won't hurt me.
I'm sure she walked into the dorm room and she looked worried. And I could tell she looked worried. Her roommate's from Egypt. Egypt in the States is Africa. I'm like, no. Egypt is Egypt. Africa is Africa. So, no, I don't think she was. I think she's ignorant. She's super ignorant. This girl didn't have a passport. I mean, granted,
but Egypt is Africa. And it's also the Middle East. I mean, Egypt is one of those things. I mean,
it's very
we're a part of so many different things.
Exactly.
Right. And we're not always sure what we want to be a part of, right? Or who we are. We have an identity crisis. But I just think that there is this. People fear the other. Right?
Yeah,
it's a reality. Not all people, and some people I think have evolved beyond. But I think it's a long process still.
It is. So speaking of identity crisis, your first language, you're more comfortable in English, right?
Yes.
Okay, so how do you find it? Do you find it challenging in any way working in Egypt and being more comfortable with English? Do you get like you were talking about when you first came, we were talking about that other podcast that you did, and you were doing it in Arabic, and somebody had commented that انت خواجة شوية, I guess. And then
العربي بتاعك ممكن يبقى مكسر شوية. I took that very personally.
How do you have problem? Like, do you face any difficulties in that sense? Or?
So I have a problem. One, I believe that our education, and when I say our, I mean collectively, but it's beyond just people that went to our school. It's beyond, our education did us a disservice.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Right?
Totally.
And the fact that we are, or speaking for myself, 100% Egyptian. Mm-hmm. I was born in the States, educated in the States, but I spent a lot of time studying here. I spent my high school years, 10 years, from third grade up until I graduated high school. I was in Egypt. So I feel that it's my problem, right? It's not a problem of other people who don't speak English, right? It's my problem that my Arabic isn't better, right? So I always feel, and although I speak Arabic fluently, but obviously my written Arabic is not great. My vocabulary is not, where I'd like it to be, but I've never had a problem having conversations in Arabic. But every now and then, في مصطلح معين كده, there's a term or something but I always feel that is my deficiency, right? And all those, I think, to a certain extent, we were brought up to think that actually, speaking English well was all you needed, which is kind of crazy. How on earth did somebody manage to convince us of that? But my parents were different because I was forced to take Arabic at home. I had to learn Arabic. We spoke a lot of Arabic at home. So I think I maybe fared better than others. But we have the same situation with our kids. And it's just, I think our language is so wonderful and so rich, and not learning it the way we should, we've been done a great disservice.
So do you think it affects you negatively sometimes with in the brand at your company?
My work in general?
With clients? But your branding is mostly in English, I guess, right? Or is it not?
What's another weird thing, isn't it? Right? Like we name so many brands in English. I'm like, why are we doing that?
And our brands are, like, most of the communication are in English. It's in English, right?
But why?
It's true.
Why?
Well, people kind of look up to it if you think about it. I mean, that's I'm not saying that's right. I'm not saying it's right, but it's 100%. This is Egypt. You know what I'm saying?
It's a whole other thing to talk about, right? And we very often tell brands, let's do something in Arabic. Let's do something in Arabic and show that Arabic brands can be, as premium as anything else, right? And clients hesitate. To be honest with you, it's a bit of a, I have so much respect for brands that are Arabic first, and we have great examples of clients we work with and others that I think, have done that. So, but going back to your question, I'm sure it affects me. Yeah, I'm sure it affects me. Especially when I do work in the Gulf, for example, in Saudi or UAE or in Kuwait. These are countries that take so much pride in their language.
Yeah, they do.
And it's wonderful. It's wonderful to see that, and it's wonderful to experience it. And again, dialects aside, I usually understand what's going on. I can have a normal conversation, but my default is English. And I do a lot of the workshops that I do and the work that I do there is primarily English with Arabic commentary, if you will.
Well, that's what because we live in Kuwait, and that's what I really respected about Kuwait is even if you're a private school, all the students have to learn Arabic, regardless of where you're from. But if you're of Arab origin, like if you're Egyptian, you have to take not Fusha, you have to take proper Arabic, not colloquial Arabic. And if you're Muslim, you have to take Deen classes. The moment I came here to Egypt, I was so happy. I'm like, what? I don't take Arabic? Thank God. Because none of the private schools enforce it, which they should, except for maybe the German school. Is the only one, The people that graduate,
Deo has always been unique in that
aspect, because the people that come out of the Deo,
I had German friends.
Is perfect.
I had German friends like pure German. Like the name was like Kaspa or something.
And they spoke Arabic.
And they spoke perfect Arabic.
It's amazing. And that's I think that's so that's one thing I'd love to. And when we do work with schools, we've worked on a number of different school projects with clients of ours. And one of the things that we always kind of push into the discourse is you need to be fully bilingual.
Yeah,
we worked with a very, very nice education client a few years ago. No, other than Compass, actually worked with Manara which is the school in Laguna, which is a wonderful project that they've done, and the energy behind that project was wonderful. The family wanted to do something to really identify top students around the country, and a lot of it is scholarship based. A lot of it is they have a large percentage of students who are on scholarships. But one of the things that we talked about a lot at the very beginning was Egyptian leaders need to be fully bilingual, and if you have to choose one language, it has to be Arabic, not English. And I think they've embraced that, and it's such a wonderful project, by the way. But many of the schools that we work with, we always create that conversation around. Okay, we need to be bilingual. Arabic cannot be,
the second language. Basically.
Exactly.
No, I totally agree.
Okay, any advice to small companies that do you think? Okay, any small brands that are starting up and let's say don't have the funds to hire somebody like you guys? Do you have any tips for those people, to up their brand, make it more visible, perhaps, or I don't know?
So I've been using a term lately a lot in looking at businesses because my work has always given me visibility into different companies, different sizes, different contexts, different countries. So I've been able to kind of observe, and the term that I've been using a lot about businesses that aren't necessarily built on strong foundations is wobbly, right? So you find these businesses wobble. So they're very strong at certain things, but they neglect, certain pillars. So I created actually something that I called the 5 Systems Blueprint, which is a complete framework for basically getting companies to kind of pay attention to the things they need to pay attention to, and to develop systems for each of those things to make sure that it's not just like a one-time discussion. And the pillars are pretty straightforward. There's strategy, unified strategy, which is the first one. There's people powerhouse, taking care of your people, customer centricity, process perfection, and adaptive evolution. Adaptive evolution is an interesting one because that's the one that most companies miss. What is happening tomorrow? What are you doing tomorrow? What are the trends that are affecting your business and how to impact them? So the first piece of advice is, and by the way, I have a foundational system called financial health, which is all of those different things need to lead to a whole different discussion. But going back to your question, I think just, have an operating system for your brand, have an operating system for your business that looks at the different components, the different elements. You don't need, not every bit. And sometimes I get clients who come to us and I will say to them, look, you as an entrepreneur, you get brand intuitively. You really don't need us, right? You have an intuitive feel for what it means to build a brand around purpose, right? Around values, around a very unique positioning that is clear and that is compelling and that is articulated, right? Your experience that you're delivering as a brand is very strong. It's very unique. It's, very differentiated, and your brand is consistent, right? So you're showing up at the different touch points and you're doing it well, right? If those components, those elements are under control, they've been written down, they've been shared, and you're actually acting on them. But that's what brand is all about, right? The clients that come to us generally, and I'm glad that they do, but they generally come to us because this isn't their area, right? Or they've tried and they've failed, or it's time for them to create a real transformation in their brand. So, I think, going back to those we talked about earlier, strong leaders create strong cultures create strong brands. It's kind of it's that simple in the end.
Yeah, because now branding, everybody talks about you have to create a personal brand. You have to do a personal brand. And sometimes it's difficult for people who don't want to be probably out there all the time and in the limelight. So it's a bit difficult because you want to do something and you really believe and you're passionate about something, but you don't necessarily want to take the steps. Because before you could have a strong, something you're passionate about, but you don't have to be so, have such a strong brand, or maybe I'm like a social media presence. I don't know. They seem to go hand in hand, right? So it feels like a lot of strong brands can fail because of that. And on the flip side, a lot of mediocre brands can succeed because of that, because they've got a strong brand, and then you can have
But you have to define a strong brand. So we have this conversation internally.
Like a strong product, perhaps.
Yeah. So, right. So you can have a strong product and not have a strong brand. Right. Mm-hmm. And the focus on personal branding right now it comes from a need, right? It's not coming from, there are people that are out there that are really good at self-promotion. Mm-hmm. I was on a panel about 7 years ago or 6 years ago, and they were talking about personal branding, and, I was very quiet, and one of the guys in the panel said, well, you're very quiet. What are your thoughts on personal branding? And I said, look, my thoughts on personal branding are very different than what you guys are talking about, because I don't think going online and telling people how cool you are is personal branding, right? That's just you being an asshole. That's I don't think that's what people want. I think do something impactful, make a difference, do something different, and people will talk about you, right? And that will build your personal brand. However, I think I was wrong. I think this was a while back. I think today there is also an element of, if people know you, you don't have to make as much of an effort to find business anymore. Clients will find you. We had this conversation this morning on, our morning call with my team, and they said, we have a new client. They came in, whatever, blah, 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 and the guy really wants to work with us. And I'm like, where did he hear about? Oh, he saw you online, or he saw you speak at an event or something. And I don't do a lot of that. So I was like, well, that's pretty cool. That's amazing. So I think there is a balance of being able to, first of all, I think if you're online, you need to be adding value, right? I mean, for me, I like to create content that is meaningful for people, that maybe 10 people will read and really like, and that's cool. It doesn't need to be, 50,000 people, right? And I don't like, I don't like to just go out and say, look how cool we are, or look how, whatever. but you need to find your kind of personal comfort area with that. And I'm not sure I've found it yet. I'm not sure, but I know what I tell my clients to do, right? Which is, you need to have a presence somehow, meaningful presence, where people will connect with you, and building community is important too. And you see people that do that really well online, which is they build a community and they have followers that are really interested in a certain thing about what they offer, and that's really great.
Yeah, I think having less followers, you don't have to have millions of followers, I guess, just like more like that are interested in what you have to offer than just having like millions of followers and just like, I don't know. I think for me, quantity versus quality versus quantity is much better.
I think definitely quality over quantity is important. And, but I'm not, I can't claim to be an expert. I can't claim to be actually, having figured this out. Yet I see people who do it well.
Some people are so good at it,
and some days I'm really jealous. I'm like, wow, man, that this person's on fire. I get frustrated sometimes when I see somebody who's really good at that part of it, but not great at their job. that to me can be a bit like, oh God, Dan,
But
whatever.
It seems like it's a whole generation of people that are really good at putting themselves out there, and I'm always like, wow, that's brilliant.
Yeah,
because most of them are. They're all out there. Like sometimes when I'm kind of like, oh my God, I just can't deal with this person talking about. And it's sometimes I find it quite admirable, but I find it a little bit sometimes like tiring. I'm like, I always feel, I don't know what it is. I have like empathy, anxiety for them. I'm like, are you okay? Like being all the time on camera?
No, I don't have empathy, anxiety for them because they're putting in a lot of work to be on it all the time. That is they're spending a good 50% of their time doing that. They want that.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I think for me, the real question is not whether or not you're online or whether or not you're visible or whether or not you have it's why.
Yeah.
Why? Like I know the people that I like to follow, that I like to listen to. I know who they are. I know why I'm following them, why I'm listening to them, right? And there are certain people who I've actually had to kind of either unfollow or block, or because it's just too much, and a lot of it isn't making sense.
Yeah.
So I think that's a challenge. But the people I think that are out there, that are being authentic, that are adding value with their content, I think they reap the benefit in a much more meaningful way. Mm-mm. I think
so too.
Okay, we're gonna wrap this up, but I'll ask you one last question. I was gonna ask you another question.
But
that's probably gonna be a whole.
Is going to be cut anyway because I don't really كلام كتير فاني.
لا كلام is that's very important and interesting for people. Let's
last question.
I was gonna ask you one question, but it's gonna open up a whole thing. Okay, let me ask you less meaningful. Like
no. Ask the meaningful question.
Yeah. I was gonna ask you about what do you think of AI right now, and how is it like? Do you think it's gonna affect your business?
Oh my God! I just watched this Diary of a CEO. He had this episode.
Oh, I didn't read this podcast.
No, he had an episode about the guy who's super AI. One who thinks it's the downfall, and then there's an entrepreneur in the middle who's like sees the benefit of this and this. But you're talking about jobs that are going to be lost to AI.
Yeah, completely.
Millions of jobs. But the AI guy is like, because now they have agents, AI agents.
No, but there's like the guy who.
That is freaking.
What are AI agents?
Agentification AI. So I have a lot to say about this.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
Are these guys charging by the hour? Is that why we're in a hurry?
No. They're not charging.
We can just give them cookies.
And my foot is numb now. Maybe I need to change positions.
The AI agent thing is kind of...
Yeah.
What is the AI agent thing?
So AI agentification is when you really begin to create an AI instance that has a lot of information about a subject or about you or about a context or about a topic, and that AI instance begins to actually, almost interact as a human. So you can create different contexts, but you can create let's say a copywriter, right? And you basically build it so that you give it all the information that it needs, and then you ask questions, and it has all this very
and it won't stop until the job is done, which is that.
So you mean like ChatGPT, right?
No,
like
it's ChatGPT. No, it's the
like
next level
2.0.
It's
oh my Lord.
It's crazy.
It's freaky. And the guy was saying basically you'll give it a task and it won't stop
but
until it's finished.
Or it's,
no, it's
online.
No, it's everything's online. It's AI.
It's not a robot yet.
Yeah. It's not a robot.
But that's what's next, right? So
it won't stop the task. It won't finish until it finishes the task.
Who made that?
However,
fucking AI.
This guy's created.
No, anybody can. I mean, technically, anybody can do it. It's a lot of the. So whether it's Anthropic, whether it's OpenAI, whether it's Gemini, whether it's Copilot, all of the different AI, the LLMs, if you will, are being purposed for that in different ways. So
it becomes a point of, is it ethical? You know what I'm saying? What if somebody asks you a task that's not an ethical task? Will it keep doing it until it finishes? It won't stop until it finishes the task. So now, how do you control the ethics part of that?
So the ethical part of AI has kind of been there for a while, and there are conversations that are I'm sure being had. One of the things that's always interests me is self-driving cars, right? So self-driving cars, there's an algorithm, right? I want to know what's in the algorithm. If I'm buying a car, I want to know if I'm driving this car or I'm in the car, I'm not driving anymore. Sorry, I'm in the car. I'm a passenger in the self-driving car, and all of a sudden, there's a mother with a stroller, right? And an old guy on a bike and a cliff, right? And the car needs to choose.
So take you off the cliff.
Right? What's it going to choose, right? Does the car say, okay, I know my passenger is, in his late 50s and whatever, or the guy on the bike, like this car has to make decisions.
Oh my God.
Right? So what's being written in the algorithm? That's a different conversation. Like, I mean, I'm not even sure that, but right now, AI is posing all kinds of other challenges. Well, the first challenge is if you read LinkedIn now, everyone sounds the same.
Oh my God, yes.
Right.
I was like, this is like, they're like, everybody, it's like these people that don't know how to speak English that have written these paragraphs that are so well written. I'm like,
right.
Uh-huh.
And right?
But it feels to be very inauthentic, and I don't even read them.
Right. And
they're not interesting at all.
So I love, I've had a very interesting relationship with AI. So when it first came online, I was like, wow, this is crazy. And we, our educational background, we prided ourselves on writing, right? So writing was an advantage. Like we had to write well. Yeah. So one of the things that we've always done, and all the content that we've done, online is there before there was AI. So we have a track record. I have a track record of kind of things that I was posting, because writing was for us one of our strengths, right? So now that's gone, right? In terms of, but the creativity. Right, the creativity part, that's what's important, right? The thinking part, that's what's important, and AI can help with that. It can support with that, but it can't replace.
Yeah.
So my AI use kind of went from 10, 15, 20%, and then it went really high to a certain point. I was doing a lot of stuff with AI because it was very efficient, and I realized that I could take things that I had written over the years that weren't polished and I could have AI help me to polish and kind of write it in a way that made sense, or I was just lazy and AI would do that for me. Now I use it completely differently. So now I'll spend maybe 3-4 weeks, up until like 2 months ago, I was using it every day, using AI for something every single day. Now I'll probably spend 2-3 weeks not touching it at all.
Oh my God, I've only used it 3 times.
Yeah. So
like I never use it.
Yeah. So now I'll write what I want to write. I'll do my thinking. I'll do all that. And then when I'm almost done, when I feel, okay, this is a finished product, I will use AI to do very basic things. I'll ask things like, okay, have I missed anything? Right? Or check my grammar, my usage, my spelling, just basic stuff like that. Because I don't want to fall into that, sameness But AI is on everyone's mind, and there's a lot of people saying, like they know what's going to happen, like they're predicting. I don't think anyone knows.
Yeah, that's the guy that was not IT background. He was saying, he's like, there is so much that can be gained from it, but we're not looking at the opposite side. Like, what can actually happen? Like, how much do you lose? You know what I'm saying? And that's the scary part. Like, how dangerous can it be?
How dangerous can fire be?
Well, it's going to replace a lot of stuff.
This is an unknown. This is an unknown. You know what I'm saying? We know what fire is, but this is, you have no idea. You really have no idea how detrimental it can be to the society, or how much it can benefit the society. I mean, it's a double-edged sword. It's a catch-22. You want to, but you're.
I have to cut in, Hannah. There are whole books written about the idea of fully automated societies where people don't have to work. There's this joke, communist joke, fully automated space communism, where the entire society is working and functioning on complete automation. People don't have to do anything. You are finally free to eat things by the sea and see what you actually want. And we're not in a system like that, of course.
Yeah, but it can be. And then us growing up, there was a book like 1984 about Big Brother, and you're reading this book and you're just like, really? We're in it.
We're way beyond it, by the way.
Or the Matrix. You know what I'm saying? You're like the blue pill or the red pill, and are we?
But I think the book that you need to read and the thinking. So Ray Kurzweil wrote a book a long time ago called "The Singularity is Near," and basically his premise was that at a certain point in time, basically computers will no longer need us to create the actual computers, write the code, and distribute them, right? They can do all that by themselves. And if I remember correctly, that moment in time was sometime around 2030, like where we will no longer be needed to. And he's written an update, I think, to that book. I haven't read it, but I'm really curious to read it because we're kind of living it right now.
Yeah.
The other thing I always wonder is how many things that are artificial have been good for us over time. I don't know. I mean, artificial sweeteners.
It's the demise of
kind of.
But if you're looking at, like, let's say diseases, plagues that wiped out tens and 20 millions of people, that regulated the Earth's population and stuff like that, that's no longer there because now you have medication that things. So you're just growing, like the population. Is that good for the Earth, or is that bad? Technology? I mean, you can look at it. It's one of those things that you can go and talk about forever. Technology is letting people live longer, but is that a good thing or a bad thing? You know what I'm saying? Like, for the people that are living, you're happy. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Gaia, the world is not able to regulate itself anymore.
I think there's definitely a conversation around what type of jobs will we have 30 years from now.
Yeah, I'm curious.
Or 3 years from now. I think there's a certain level of knowledge work that can be replaced by AI.
Absolutely, definitely.
But I just think when this is scaled, like AI at scale, to me seems really like a bit frightening.
It's Planet of the Apes people. Hello.
maybe right?
Come on.
Is it Planet of the Apes or is it something worse? I don't know. But the other question I was asked is, okay, well, if AI is doing everything, right? So if Amazon becomes a completely AI company, right? So fulfillment and orders and delivery, everything is AI, right? Well, who's buying the stuff?
No,
who has the job to make the money to buy the stuff, right?
Exactly.
And
that's what I'm confused about.
Yeah, and it's really funny. And Sam Altman the other day came out and said, like, you really shouldn't be trusting ChatGPT. Like, I wouldn't really trust ChatGPT. It's like, what? This is the guy that created it. So
Yeah.
It's just...
It makes a lot of mistakes.
It makes it...
A lot of mistakes.
Of course, that's why you shouldn't be relying on it completely. Like the people who just do it to simplify certain things in your life.
Yeah.
Like to write something, I write very well, but sometimes I use it to like kind of like, it's like, no, that's not, so I'll write like a whole paragraph to come up with something, and then it's like, I'm like, no, that's not it.
Fine tune it, yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, no, that's not what I meant. It's like, sometimes I'll be like, no, that's not what I meant. This is, so like, but I use it just to make my life easier and it's more efficient. But the other things like about like people proposing to chatbots and I don't know, these weird things. I'm thinking, where is the world going? Where are we going?
The guy fell in love with his...
Well, wasn't that a movie with Scarlett Johansson?
He was telling us.
Her with the Scarlett, she's the voice, and Joaquin Phoenix.
So first of all, have you ever had a conversation with AI?
No,
no.
Okay, so that's mind blowing.
You should try it out.
No.
And you can do it in different languages and different dialects. Like you can have a full on, Egyptian Arabic conversation with ChatGPT, and they make mistakes, right? But it's just really funny how they.
But I'm one of those people that it freaks me out, and therefore I avoid it as much as possible.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Like I'm not seriously, ChatGPT. I used it 3 times.
The more you understand it, the less you feel.
It's not about, I don't want to understand it.
You'll connect with it.
I don't want to disconnect from my mind. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to.
Embrace it, Nir.
No, I'm
single.
I'm gonna be that person. I'm gonna be that person because I don't. Part of me doesn't feel it's right. You know what I'm saying? I remember, going through the Rolodex at the library, going, I need this article. Where is it? Now I tell my mom. My mom's just like, my mom, just Google it. God damn it! Why are you asking me?
The Dewey Decimal System, right? We had the files.
Yes,
What do they used to call them?
The Rolodex.
Not the Rolodex. No, it used to be called the.
I don't remember what it was, but yeah, I know what you're talking about.
I used to love it. By the way, I miss that. It was. Just...
And by the way, Google now. No one, even people at Google aren't using Google anymore. They're using something else for search, either Gemini or Perplexity or there's So yeah.
Your mom asked me something recently. I'm like, yesterday we were together. I was just like, Mom, just Google it. It was with Shireen. I'm like, just Google it.
My son tells me that. Zane tells me that. He's like, when I tell him something, I was like, Zane, I don't know how we're going to do that. Well, just Google it. Google will tell us. I was like, oh my God. Okay.
And that just kind of scares me. And it's invasive. Problem is, I find it invasive. You know what I'm saying? If you do a certain amount of research, all of a sudden, when you open Google, it knows what you like and it's there. The algorithm is there. You start getting these messages and you're just like, I'm like, you're in my business now. Like,
yeah, but it's even without that, everything like your phone and all of that. Anyways, okay, so I'm gonna wrap this up because I knew this was gonna be a big conversation because we can go on forever. But okay, you
should come back again.
Be happy to. And by the way, if you're really interested in AI, there's a lot of Mo Gaudat, who is
freaks me out.
Yes, he wrote.
Yeah, very cool guy. Very, very, very cool guy. Very smart. And we've had some conversations about this that are really.
Maybe we can have him on. Could we have him on? Is he in Egypt?
No, I don't know. I think he's in Dubai or lives in Dubai now. But he also now spends a lot of time talking about this, about AI, and he's got some really interesting ideas about.
Yeah. I think I heard him say something, not very positive about it. Yeah. Anyways, okay, so last question, more superficial. Any shows that you've been watching recently? Anything you recommend? Because we love this kind of topic.
Yes.
Speaking, I just started watching The Last of Us, and it talks about exactly this, by the way.
Really?
The Last of Us, the first episode is a movie. It's an hour and 40 minutes. And basically, they're talking about how everything, and at the end of the day, it's a bacteria that wipes out. It's a fungus. It's a fungus that wipes out the puppy. It's weird.
So that's a show that my wife has watched. I couldn't watch it. It was a bit too grotesque for me. Yeah. But then I watched Mobland recently.
Is it good? I started watching
Mind-blowingly good.
My friend,
who's in that?
Pierce Brosnan, Tom Hardy, and Helen Mirren.
That's a movie, right?
It's a series. Okay. Guy Ritchie. And the thing is, my friend was watching it, and I'm like, where are the English subtitles? I now watch everything with subtitles, even if it's English. I don't care. I like to just have it there. And then my friend couldn't get into it. And I was like, I need to watch this alone.
With subtitles.
Super. So that was great. Adolescence.
I heard
I watched that. That was really good. That was powerful.
Very powerful topically, and also the way it was made. Creatively, really, really solid.
It was very good.
The acting was brilliant. The writing, everything was top notch.
Yeah.
So that is my kind of my guilty pleasure. I do an hour a day at least at the end of the day, just to kind of disconnect everything.
Heba and I have very different, because I told her Department Q is a super episode.
That was very good.
Watched it?
Yes.
I started watching The Outsider. Nobody say anything? Nobody. No, Nira loves to break. Nira loves to ruin my movies.
The
Survivor series.
Survivors is good too.
I haven't seen that. I didn't watch Department Q.
Department Q is really good. Survivor, and then I watched also Rivals, which was hysterical.
You like it because it's the music.
The music was fantastic, and it's in the 80s, and it's a British show. It's different, and so is Department Q. It's British, and the Survivors is Australian. Oddly enough, I say
I have not watched Survivors. I have to watch that one.
Yeah, so I think it's just different. They're interesting. They're very, very interesting.
I'm trying to think what else. But the Amabla was really, really good.
Sirens was crap.
Sirens was weird.
Yeah, it was just
very weird.
It ended so I was just like.
But
whatever.
I did watch the John Hamm one, the Friends and Neighbors on Apple TV.
Okay. I didn't see that one.
Interesting. It was I mean, again, it's a solid 7. If you got nothing better to watch, But
I like the ones like you said, like the more intense ones. They give me anxiety watching them, but at least it kind of shuts my mind off from the day. So I like those ones that are like. The Outsider is pretty good.
It's also British. It's really nice. Actually.
Dark, very dark. The British drama is fantastic.
Sometimes it's so good. It's a good change from the American.
And I like the actors in it, and the main actor actually was really good. And the story was just kind of different. And they tend to be different.
I think British drama is, for me...
intelligent.
It's intelligent and it's real. I mean, I think a lot of the American shows, everybody just looks so good and sounds so good.
Yes, it's true.
And like everybody's perfect. Like what is like? This is not reality.
Yeah.
The British are disheveled. They don't have.
And the Australians are even more disheveled. The Survivors. It's actually good.
Makes you feel good about yourself.
Yes, you'll enjoy it.
Awesome.
Anyways, okay. So thanks for Omar for coming on.
Thank you so much.
Loved having you.
It's a pleasure.
And this is like the end of season 4. So
have a great summer.
Yeah, have a great summer.
You too. Any interesting plans?
None.
No Sahad this year, I think.
Guna.
Just Guna,
nice.
maybe.
Guna.
The alternative.
You?
I like that. We actually just got back from Hurghada. We were there for a few days. And,
that's right, because your wife has a hotel there, right?
Yes. We spent a lot of time there. It's actually really lovely. And she's also in the process of renovating it.
She was telling me.
She's a designer, so that's...
I ran into her.
Yeah, and she's doing a fabulous job. So we go I go every few months, to enjoy it and to see the wonderful things that they're doing. She's there a lot more often. We'll probably spend some time in Sahand this summer. We have some friends coming. We have a wedding.
Nice.
Which is going to be really exciting. Good friend of ours, good friends of ours are getting married, so that's fun.
Nice.
Yeah.
So have a great summer.
Yeah, everybody.
And maybe you'll come back for season 5.
I look forward to that.
Okay. Yes.
We'll see what's happening between now and then.
Exactly.
Thanks so much, guys.
Thank you so much for coming.
Bye.
Okay, that's a wrap. If you're still here, you must have enjoyed yourself, so subscribe and leave a review and share this with the one person who needs to hear it. Find us on Instagram for behind the scenes on what's coming next. See you next time, same place, same chaos.